You ever have one of those days where you come home after months away, expecting to find everything right where you left it, only to open the door and realize you're smack in the middle of a suburban soap opera? Yeah, that was me. Suitcase still warm from baggage claim, keys in one hand, lease in the other, just staring at my own garage like it was a set for Storage Wars HOA edition. And before I could even process the carnage, busted lamps, ripped up strollers, boxes half collapsing under their own weight there, she was yelling across the driveway like I was the trespasser, not her. "You're not allowed to mess with my stuff," she shrieked, all elbows and righteous anger as if the pile of junk was her God-given right. Meet Susan Hargrove, folks, the self-crowned interim HOA facilities overseer, a title she made up and laminated, probably the same way a kid makes a sheriff's badge out of a cereal box. I hadn't even unpacked my laptop, and suddenly I'm in a standoff with a woman who thinks community property means whatever she can break into. Let me back up a sec. I don't live in that little bungalow year-round. I rent it out to Mia, this really nice, quiet tenant in her 20s. She keeps to herself, pays on time, never once caused drama, which is more than I can say for half the block. The only thing I kept for myself was the detached garage. It's on a separate deed outside HOA jurisdiction, locked up tight every time I left town. But Susan, she'd been circling that garage like a vulture since last winter, convinced it was just wasted space. 3 weeks after I left for a work gig out of state, she saw Mia ignore it, declared it abandoned community storage to the HOA, cut the lock with bolt cutters, filled it with her own junk, and slapped her padlock on the door like she'd just conquered the Wild West. Mia tried to stand up to her, bless her heart, but Susan just bulldozed over her with talk of reclaiming idle resources and threatened imaginary fines for storage inefficiency. Mia, not built for confrontation, left me a shaky voicemail, then dropped it. Honestly, can't blame her. I should have come home sooner. So there I was, holding my keys, staring at a treadmill buried under ceramic gnomes and cracked bins. "Susan, this is my property." "Not shared, not communal." "And you broke in," I said, as calm as I could muster. She just smirked. "Prove it." "No cameras." "We've used it for HOA donations forever. You can't revoke access. That's the type you get in these meetings, you know. The ones who win arguments by shouting, not thinking." I'd dealt with folks like her before. I knew I couldn't out-yell her, I'd have to outsmart her. That night I called the police. Officer Ramirez was all business. "Without proof, it's a civil matter. Document everything. Change the lock. Get a lawyer." So I did, photographed every tacky flamingo, every sticky bin, labeled it all, swapped the lock for a smart one with a camera. Then I taped up a notice. "Remove your items in 10 days, or it's considered abandoned." She replied with a note of her own glitter ink, and all designating my garage HOA emergency overflow. Threatened fines for obstruction. That's when I started digging. Turns out her fancy title, not a single word about it in the HOA minutes. The old president had quit, no vote, nothing official. Susan was just playing make-believe, but she doubled down, dumping even more of her junk inside. Ramirez said again, "Catch her in the act or go civil." So I flipped the script. I called my old buddy, Sheriff Dylan Reedweed. We served together back in the day before he joined the force and I got into engineering contracts. "Need a secure place for storage in town," I said, only half joking. By week's end, I'd leased the garage to his department for $1 a month. They installed biometric locks and cameras. Now it was an evidence locker, not a junk drawer. Susan lost it. She marched up in a wrinkled pantsuit, key in hand, and when her old lock didn't work, she tried to force her way in right in front of deputies. She accused them of theft, fraud, even suburban displacement, in a neighborhood built in the 80s, no less. The next morning, another glitter-splattered note lawsuits threatened colluding with cops against civilians, accusing me of revoking garage privileges. Never mind that the garage was never HOA property. Her own notes admitted trespass gold for my lawyer, who still remembered her from an old zoning feud. He laughed at the sparkles. "Keep it civil," he said, "but one more stunt and we hit back." That same afternoon, Mia called voice shaking. Susan was knocking on doors, telling neighbors I was hiding contraband with rogue agents passing out flyers. She even stormed into the sheriff's office, waving her laminated badge, demanding an inspection of occupied assets. They escorted her out after a full-blown rant about cover-ups and smuggled tech. Next day, I got a cease and desist accusing me of unapproved leasing and demanding compensation for 10 months of utility storage, which made no sense since she'd only broken in a few weeks ago. That's when my lawyer went on the offensive restraining order for harassment, trespass, slander, property damage. We had footage of Susan sneaking in at night, cramming in a rocking chair after the new locks went up. Judge approved the order in 2 days. She couldn't set foot near my garage. But Susan just got bolder, called a compliance tribunal at the clubhouse. Her allies, Brenda and Steve, perched in lawn chairs behind a plastic sign, ready to play judge and jury. I showed up, handed Susan a copy of the restraining order. "You're violating it," I said. "Keep going." "And it's contempt." She slammed her makeshift gavel, called me a threat to community harmony. After that, she printed flyers, grainy photos of me, bold-faced text, "Spy in our midst." She even tipped off local news about a secret warehouse. I shared all my documentation, so the story died before it aired. But her flyers lingered. Neighbors were confused. Some thought it was all a joke. Others kept their distance. So Reed and I hosted a public forum, official invite off-duty cop for peace of mind. 40 neighbors showed up. Susan stormed in, grabbed the mic. Reed stopped her. "Your turn later." I laid out the deeds, the lease, the restraining order, all her glittery threats. People gasped, laughed, even asked, what was all that junk anyway? Turns out most of it was broken Christmas decorations and a busted old mattress, not exactly community treasure. The crowd turned and Susan's donations looked more like hoarding. The meeting ended with her handing me a card, tulips and glitter. "Forgiveness is divine," she wrote, praying for my soul. Tucked inside a Polaroid of my own garage taken from Mia's backyard, time-stamped with Susan's shadow crossing the line, more evidence for Ramirez, who was already fed up with her games. Within 2 days, Susan fired up her blog, Neighborhood Truth, smearing me and the sheriff as a deep state laundering ring. She photoshopped a mugshot of me, spread it around. Then Mia called, whispered she'd seen a flashlight in the shed late at night. I raced over, found a mess crowbar, her shoe gasoline can. No fire, but the intent was obvious. Susan got arrested, arson attempt, trespass, violating the order. Judge revoked her bail. Nobody came to defend her. Her cousin tried to sue me in small claims court for heirloom theft. Judge dismissed it in 5 minutes. Even from jail. Susan filed nonsense lawsuits, defamation, trauma, antisocial siege. In court, she cited her own blog as evidence, ranted about garage oppression. Judge dismissed the whole mess with prejudice. She sobbed in court, swore she'd never give up. But I still had one card left. Public records showed her own house had an unpermitted sunroom and an illegal garage extension. I reported it, inspectors rolled up clipboard in hand. 60 days to fix or demolish. She claimed code conspiracy against women leaders. But nobody was buying it. Her red violation sticker went viral in the neighborhood group chat. Neighbors finally saw through the drama. The new HOA president voided her made-up fines, set up actual ethics training, property checks. Neighbors loved it. We even threw a barbecue to celebrate burgers and beers, everyone laughing at how wild things had gotten. Susan moved out, left me a card. "You won the neighborhood, not the war." She threatened to appeal to sue for her reputation. Her last attempt, a rambling, self-defeating lawsuit stuffed with fake screenshots and truth in suburbia rants. It went nowhere. Judge tossed it in record time. She tried to rally support, but by then, people just wanted peace. When all was said and done, I kept her old glitter badge like a trophy from the weirdest battle I've ever fought. Was it revenge? No, not really. I just wanted my sanity back from one woman's power trip. Still, even now, sometimes I wonder, was I too harsh? Did I cross a line fighting fire with fire, or was I just holding the line for what's right? You know how it is. In these neighborhoods, the difference between standing up and going too far is just a few feet of driveway. Now the garage is empty, quiet, a little slice of peace after months of chaos. And I can't help but wonder, in the world of HOAs, where's the line between justice and overkill? Let me know what you think. Was I the bad guy? Or just the guy who finally said, enough? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm dying to hear where you stand on community power and when it's time to take it back.